Hi, and welcome to our Delegation Mastermind on how to scale your business through structure and operations. I am here today, Nicole Glitchio L, COO of Virtual Assist USA, and I have with me our CEO, Danielle Cuomo. We are going to be going back and forth, talking about various topics. This is an intensive mastermind session that follows loosely along with the workbook that you were given. The session is broken out so that you should complete the workbook first, listen to this recording, and then post session take our quiz that was sent to you. It is designed in a way to upset your current mindset so that you can reset into things that you should be thinking about. And Danielle will go through that in the next slide as to how to scale your business, what you should be delegating, and what you really need to change. So in order to change, we need to look at your mindset because letting go isn't just tactical, it's very mental, and you need permission to step back so you can do so. We're going to ground everything, talk about your mission in a couple of slides because delegation without direction just creates noise. And we really want clarity and alignment. We'll also talk through the financial side of things in order to scale your business, let you know what delegation costs, and more importantly, what it's going to return to you. From here, after you have completed your workbook, listen to this recording, and finish the quiz, we are going to ask that you send us back your workbook. We will obviously have the quiz results. And what we are going to give back to you is a strategic delegation plan that is personal to you. You'll know what is draining your time, how you can offboard things that are on your plate, and who should handle it. At the end of the day, it's about reclaiming your time, not just to breathe, but to focus on what you do best and what only you can do, what your genius zone is. Strategy, content, networking, creation, whatever it may be, you need the space to be in it. And with that said, we are going to kickstart this intensive, and I'm going to turn it over to Danielle.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As Nicole said, we're very excited to have you here. We know that this is an intensive session, and we really put all of the knowledge that Nicole and I have had over our combined nearly 4 decades of experience to make this beneficial and valuable for you. So we really hope that you can walk away with some next steps and some action plans. And of course, we're going to be sending you the customizable plan as well. So one thing I want to say is that today is really about taking action, and it's not just theory. That was really Nicole and I's intention when we decided to do this mastermind. That we want this to be not just some practical advice that we talk about and some concepts and such, but we really want you to be able to walk away from here and be able to take action. And you know that you can't rely on what you've been doing now to get here. It's just a fact that you're going to have to change some things along, and we're here to help you do it. So as you can see in the workbook, we do have 8 sections. As Nicole mentioned, the idea is that you have completed the workbook prior to listening to this mastermind recording. And once you do that, you'll have everything complete. You can certainly print it out or follow along on a PDF on your computer, whatever works for you. But we do want you to have completed the answers so that you can really focus on what we're saying. So we'll talk about the mindset reset. And what we're really doing there is having you shift from doing it all, doing everything yourself, to really thinking and operating like a CEO. We're going to talk about what is draining your time. So we're going to identify the tasks that are stealing your focus and figure out what you can delegate or even automate right now and get that off your plate. We're going to talk about the CEO time framework. That is designing your ideal week, where you're prioritizing the high impact leadership. We're going to go through an operational systems audit. So this is a complete audit, finding out where your business needs structure, SOPs, automation, delegation. As Nicole mentioned, a very important piece. We're talking about the finances of smart delegation. So calculating what the ROI is of support and building a budget that scales with you, that works for you. We're going to talk about team building and the different types of support that you can get, and outlining how you hire your next person, what type of person you need to hire. And finally, we're talking about clarifying your leadership style, uncovering those gaps in your leadership style that you might not be aware of, and finally creating your delegation plan. You are going to receive an email afterwards with a reminder to submit your completed workbook post session, and then you'll take the quiz to receive your custom delegation plan. We are doing those all individually, so it's not automatic, and so we will send that in a few days after receiving that. But with that, Nicole, I'm going to hand it back over to you to talk about one-line missions.
Thanks, Danielle. So, as I stated earlier, in order to delegate effectively, you need to know what you're building and why it matters. This one line mission statement is your anchor. It keeps you focused and helps your team understand what they're supporting because delegation just isn't about taking tasks off your plate. It's about helping move forward in the right direction. If your mission isn't clear, it's easy to fall into the busy work that looks productive but doesn't actually drive growth. So I'd like you to pause and take a minute here to think about what you stated is your business mission statement. Ask yourself, does your current team know this mission? Could they repeat it to you exactly as the line that you have written, or maybe two lines, if that? Do they know your mindset for the future of the company? Better yet, does your audience or your client know your mission? If I knew nothing about your business today and you read this mission statement to me, would I understand exactly what your business does, what solution it has for your clients or your leads or your audience? This matters because everything that you are going to do moving forward is going to tie back to this. Are things necessary? Does it move things forward towards your mission? Are your team members in alignment for the future of your company and the mindset about what you do and why you do it? I hope that you're saying yes. If not, this is definitely something I'd like you to highlight. It's something I want you to revisit and think about. You can ask your team if you have a team for feedback. If you're a solopreneur, I want you to look inside and say, are people asking me, maybe on sales calls, to clarify what it is I do for them? Are people coming to your website and clicking on an about us? Are they looking for an extra step to further understand what you do? You can look through your data, look through your analytics if you're a solopreneur. You can simply ask on a sales call, do you understand my mission? Or say it to yourself. Is this something that I know this person I'm talking to is understanding exactly what I do, what my company does, and what I can solve for them? I hope it was a yes. Let's move on.
So in your workbook, you had taken a mindset quiz. There were just a couple of questions in there. This is something different. This is talking again about mindset, but it is a mini quiz. And so we want to just ask you to answer to yourself. You don't need to write this down, but just think to yourself some high-level responses to these three questions. So, where is your time spent most throughout the day? It could be that you're stuck in your email inbox. It could be that you're chasing down team members to figure out what has been completed and what hasn't. You're checking on the status of things. It could be not just that you're on sales calls, but that you're prospecting and doing a lot of lead generation. The next question, how do you view yourself as the owner, the founder, the CEO? Try to use 3 or 5 words for this. What do you think of yourself as a leader? And then finally, if you were given 10 hours back in your week, where and how would you spend it? When we did the live session, we had several different answers for this. So some folks said that they wanted to spend more time with their families, with their children, young children. Others wanted to work on a passion project. Others would use that time to sleep or exercise. There are no right or wrong answers. We just want you to start thinking about this. What would you do with 10 hours in your week? And just so you know, that is a very doable number. If you are delegating smartly, that is a very, very achievable number to get to 10 hours back in your week. And most people do that right away. That is not a pie in the sky number at all. So while you're thinking about these answers, also think to yourself, where do you fall on the delegation confidence spectrum? What's your current team structure? So are you confident in what to delegate? Or are you still kind of figuring that out, still stuck in that trap of, I know I should have someone else do my lead generation for me on LinkedIn, but I just don't know if they'll do it as well as I do. Or I should get out of my emails and stop answering, 80% of these emails that relate to customer service, but I just don't trust someone with my email. So think about that and be honest with yourself about where you are. And what does your current team structure look like? So are you mostly solo? Do you have a small team of maybe some contractors or virtual assistants? Are you growing a team? Are you using a number of different freelancers? Do you have an OBM? So this quiz and these questions that I'm asking you are really designed to help you self-assess. You don't want to think about just what's on your plate, but thinking about your time, your leadership, and your support and how that's impacted. So not just, I have an inbox of 110 emails on Monday morning and I have to answer them, but what does that actually mean for you going forward? What does that mean that if you're answering those 110 emails, what will you not be able to do with your time or your day? Are the top leaders of the top companies that you admire, your mentors, the influencers that you follow, are they answering 110 emails in their inbox? How is your team supporting you through that? And so the big shift that we're aiming for today is moving on from what I talked about saying, I'll just do it myself. It's going to be faster if I do it myself, but it will not be faster. But asking yourself, who on my team or my future team can take this on with the right training, the right support, the right documentation. Who can take this on for me? And I can get back to doing what I said in answer three, what I would do with my time spent. And so when you guys are going through this recording, we don't want you to think about doing more. We certainly don't want you to be doing any more. We want you to be doing more of what only you can do. So keep that in mind as we continue to dive in. Foundational operations, they over time will take the complete day-to-day burden off your shoulders. It'll open up avenues for your genius zone, for scalability, for growth. And we will move on to Nicole for the next slide.
Thanks, Danielle. So I'm going to continue with what Danielle said about this mindset of the old way versus the new way, and the way that we want you to start thinking about things. Like Danielle said, I'll just do it all myself is the old way of thinking. You hire help, but you're still in control of every detail. Your time is split, admin, client work, putting out fires, inbox. You're becoming the bottleneck. You're wearing every hat and you're calling it grit. It's my company. I'll just do it. I'll spend the time, I'll work the weekend, I'll get it done. It should fall on me. Burnout, overwhelm, it is real and it's not going to scale your company in any way, shape, or form. So the new way of thinking, who on my team or the future can take this on with the right training, delegation outcomes, and not just the tasks, and trusting your team to get results. Your time is protected. Vision, strategy, decision making, building systems so the business can run if you're not in the room. Again, like Danielle said, and we're repeating ourselves, but it is so important to focus on only what you can do and delegate the rest. So now that we've talked high level mindset changes, action items in the workbook, hoping if you didn't so already, but perhaps you need to change a couple of things. What are you doing that are action items that drain you? What are you struggling with? Write them down. It could be as simple as starting a spreadsheet. You don't have to use the workbook. You don't have to do it today. That was also the purpose of having multiple things here for you with the workbook, the recording, and then post quiz is so that you can take time, spend some time throughout your day, have a tab open on a spreadsheet, and put everything in there that you're doing. It will help get to a very granular level, which is something that you need to do. Without this granular level and assessing it, where your time is explicitly going, you may think you know the answer, but I bet that you are wrong. And I want to talk a little bit here, and we'll talk in a couple other slides, is about trusting your team and getting results. So if right now you're saying, I have a team, it's not working, I need you to take a step back and try and digest what's not working there and write it down. If it is I'll take the example. If you have an admin and you are looking for your admin to do thought level leader planning, that is not aligned, right? If you are trying to take your accountant and making them a salesperson or high level customer service, that's not aligning either. So there are a lot of steps to take back and absorb. If you feel the current team you have right now, whether high level, mid level, entry level, why isn't it working? I want you to think about, is it right person, right seat? And how am I delegating things to them? Is it clear? Ask them for feedback. They may have a completely different mindset here than you do. And it shouldn't be met with um, over frustration. It should be met with clarity when you approach your team member as to why things aren't working. You, as the business owner, should be accountable for the team that you have. And you want to make sure that, like I said, right person, right seat for success of your team.
So you have probably, hopefully, already done this in the workbook where you've talked about what's draining your time. But now we're going to talk about defining your top 2 to 3 CEO level activities. This is something that only you can do. And you have to be really strong with yourself here. And it can't be, but only I can do my email, only I can do the bookkeeping, because I can guarantee that somebody else can send out invoice reminders for unpaid invoices for you. And I can guarantee that somebody else can answer emails with questions that you get 10 times a month. The frequently asked questions that are probably already answered elsewhere on your website, someone else can answer those for you. Someone else can do your prospecting on LinkedIn for you. And so what you're doing is just the 2 to 3 activities that only you can do. Maybe your business is such that prospective clients want to speak to you directly. They don't want to speak to a salesperson. It's very relationship driven. So that would be one of the tasks there. Something else in there might be making visionary decisions, thinking about the strategic growth of the company, making large budget decisions, what you're going to invest in this year. But really, there shouldn't be other things in there because it's very likely that they can be either automated or delegated. And the next step that we're going to ask you to do is to block 5 hours this week for strategic work. And this means pausing your inbox, maybe turning off the tab of your inbox, putting your phone on Do Not Disturb, not scheduling any meetings, just doing the strategic work. If it's impossible for you to have 5 hours consecutively because you feel at this point you just can't turn your phone on Do Not Disturb for 5 hours, that's okay. You can break it up to, 2 days of 2.5 hours, for example. But we want you to get 5 hours of strategic work where you're not bothered by anything else. And the next question we're going to ask here is if you do have a team, thinking about where they might need clarity. So, when is the last time that they have given you feedback, whether you solicited it or not solicited it? It's very difficult for some folks to provide feedback. So, if you can be very open with the team that you want and value the feedback, and you can just say, you don't need to say, please give me feedback. That can feel a little funny, but you can ask them specific questions. You could ask, do you have any confusion about the direction that I'm giving you? Do you need clear expectations? Do you need me to adjust any deadlines? So think about all of that. And as you're thinking about those answers, ask yourself if you're defaulting to managing your team rather than leading your team. So a few ways you might know that you're doing this would be you're managing your team if you're chasing down, did this project get done? Did this email get sent? Did this invoice get sent? Was that done last week? How are we on this deadline? That is managing someone. But leading someone is a completely different mindset. So which of those mindsets are you in? And get really honest with yourself. And here's the truth that Nicole and I have found over our work, over the many, many years we've worked together. You will not find the time for strategic work in your schedule because something else is always going to come up. There is always going to be a fire to put out, but you have to make it. And so doing this framework is really the first step to making sure that your calendar is reflecting your role, which is really important. So I want you to ask yourself, when's the last time you received feedback from your team? And I also want you to ask yourself, when is the last time that you strategized about the next steps of your company with someone, such as a fractional COO, maybe an OBM, a trusted team member? It doesn't have to always be just you doing it alone. 99% of people are not doing it alone. Yes, you are the CEO, the buck stops with you. You are the last person to make the decisions. Everything is final with you, but don't discount the importance and the value that you get from discussing that with someone else. It can be a mastermind partner, so it doesn't have to be someone that you're paying. It can just be someone that you mastermind with and connect with. It could be someone on your team that's been there for a while. If you don't have someone on your team, it might be time to think about hiring a fractional CEO, a fractional COO. Uh, it might be time to think about hiring an OBM. But just think about that, and I want you to note that in your workbook. There's not a section for it, but I want you to note thinking about it and thinking about what doors that would open to you for you. So now we're going to shift gears and talk about something um, that very quietly determines whether your business can scale or whether it's depending entirely on you to survive. And so this section is called your core systems checkup. And we do split it into two parts here. So this is on your workbook. And it's split into two parts. First, we're assessing where you're still the glue, where you still need to be doing anything and everything. And then we're going to take a hard look at how your systems are actually performing and what is happening there.
Thanks, Danielle. Before we dive into the glue, I want to just remind you about mindset for when you are strategizing with someone is to understand at what level you're strategizing with them at. So if you are talking with a person who is also a CEO and in a mastermind, that feedback is going to be vastly different than if you were strategizing with someone who is diving deep into your operations. Just be aware and cognizant of at what level that you are strategizing. There is no right or wrong answer at which level that you do it. It's just being mindful of where you are. So let's talk about the glue. What part of your business only works because you're involved? If you stepped away tomorrow, what would immediately stop functioning? I don't know if there are red flags that are popping into your head, but this is imperative to write down. It's something that we need to know why. Why would it stop functioning tomorrow? The second part being the self systems check is what processes are repeatable? Can something be automated? Who can take over these repeatable items? How documented are your processes? And I'm not talking about hearsay, oh, it's easy, just sign into Active Campaign, it's all there. No, is it written down? Can I step in today as a ambiguous person who is coming to learn about your company, sit down at a desk and function as part of your team with, say, here's your Gmail, here's a to-do list, and here is some instruction. It's really important to know what systems do I have in place. Growth will not happen without a structured foundation. You need to build upon it. A final thought for your momentum here. This isn't a check-in about perfection. It's about building awareness for you. You can't delegate effectively or scale confidently until your operations have structure. Use this section to pinpoint where you need better systems. Don't worry how long the list is. This is where the momentum needs to start at its core.
And this is one of my favorite topics, the finances of smart delegation. So we're going to be talking about numbers, specifically what it means when you're doing everything yourself. So we talk about the value that you bring to your business. And so for this exercise, I just want you to estimate what your hourly rate is. If you are someone like a therapist or a healthcare provider, you might very well know your hourly rate. it might be 150 an hour. If you are a real estate agent or maybe a financial advisor or in another type of entrepreneurial role, you might not know your hourly rate. So think about estimating that. You can just very easily think about what you grossed last year, dividing it. I'm sorry, what you netted last year by dividing it with how many hours in the year, and you can get your hourly rate there. So I'm guessing that it is, well over $100 an hour. That's the value that you bring to your business. And so we're going to think about what it means when you're doing everything yourself and what that's actually costing you. Because it's very easy to think about delegation as an expense, saying, I'm hiring this bookkeeper to do my monthly reconciliations and I'm paying her $500 a month, and that's $500 a month that's going out the door. But that's really not the mindset that we want you in. We want you thinking, I'm hiring this bookkeeper to free up my time so that I don't spend 10 or 20 hours doing this. And I'm actually saving $1,000 or $2,000 a month by hiring this bookkeeper. So as you can see, it's just sort of a mindset shift there, but it helps you to start viewing it as an investment. So we want to think about the time that you're spending on low value tasks. That is scheduling basic follow-ups, organizing files, doing operational type work, chasing after payments, chasing after prospects, doing your invoicing, adding folks to your CRM, making updates to your CRM. Maybe it is social media. Maybe you love to do the vision for the social media and you love to be the heart of the content, but you do not need to be the one that's scheduling the social media post, finding out the best time to schedule them, checking out the analytics, all of that. That is something you don't need to be doing. So think about how much time you spend doing those low value tasks. I will bet that it's more than half of your time of the week. So 20 hours, 25 hours. Take that and multiply that by your ideal CEO rate and compare that to the number of what it would cost to hire someone else to do it. So virtual assistants in the United States figure around $40 an hour. Obviously, some are less, some are more, but let's just use that as an average. An OBM, maybe $70 to $100 an hour, for example. Same thing with a bookkeeper. Chances are that you can delegate that to someone else and a much lower rate than your hourly rate is. And that gap there is your ROI. And I want you to think about not as money that you're spending, but that's money that you're losing by holding on to tasks that don't need you to complete them. And so taking that one step further, if you freed up those hours, what could you be doing instead? We talked about that a few slides ago, what you would do with 10 hours. I shared some examples that folks used in the live session. But could you also be doing more sales calls? Could you be creating more offers? Could you launch a new program? Could you launch a new product? Could you be shortening the delivery time if you do a product? Could you be expanding capacity and growing your business? So that's the mindset shift. And you can write this down in your workbook. You can write it down and stick it somewhere in your office. It's one of my favorite mantras when it comes to delegation. But delegation isn't about saving time. It's about creating opportunity. So yes, you're saving time, you're saving money, but what you're really doing is creating opportunity for yourself. And again, you're not just buying hours from someone else. You're not just paying an invoice that comes in monthly. You're really buying back your role as CEO, and that's incredibly important.
So something Danielle said is that it's creating opportunity. So are you the bottleneck, moving from bottlenecks to breakthroughs? What's getting in your way? I know it can be relatively scary to think about, but if you have those 10 hours, it opens you up for new opportunities. Are you fearful that now the pressure is on you to not do those day-to-day tasks, but to go and network, to go be creative? Are you in that mindset to do so, to grow and scale? So let's talk about what's getting in your way. Is it control? Is it fear of poor results when you're delegating? A lack of documented systems? Or are you so used to putting out those fires that you haven't had time to even think about delegating? to think about what opportunities are out there. Just take a moment and breathe. Think about it. Am I ready to take on new opportunities? The answer should be yes, hoping that it's yes. So let's talk about what kind of leader do you want to be? I know for me as a leader, I love to educate, to give space to grow, and allow people to be accountable for themselves with structured feedback, collaborative conversations, and knowing that my team is an important part of the day to day so that I'm not there putting out every fire. I'm not there every moment of every day to make sure that the system runs. I'm there to allow myself to give the business more opportunities, to think bigger, next steps, scale, while I know my operations, my team, my delegation is all foundational, solid, and in place. Zooming out and talking about leadership, again, I want to remind you when you're looking at your team, what experience they have within your company and how does it equate to what feedback they may be giving you. I'll give you an example of someone on your customer service team. Valuable feedback from what they see from your customers. Talk to them, ask them intriguing, thought provoking questions, and see what you get back. You might be able to streamline things. Maybe you put in a bot because your customer service team, we always see the same question. Well, maybe you put it on the front of your homepage, right? Collaboration and teamwork. I want you to talk and think about again, right person, right seat. Who's your next strategic hire? Who's the one that's going to help you break the bottleneck that you're currently seeing? If you're feeling stuck, chaotic, frustrated, it might not be a systems problem either. It may be wrong people, wrong seats, wrong culture. You may need a reset. Think about, again, are my expectations clear to the people on my team and how I'm positioning them? What role are they really playing versus their title on their contract and their role profile? Are they solving problems or are they adding more to your plate? Do you trust them to think like an owner? And not where you're putting the accountability on them to strategize with you, but do they take care of your business as you do? That doesn't mean the actual items and tasks that they're doing. It means the feeling that they take with them with that mission statement that we talked about in the beginning. If you had to hire for a role today, would you rehire the same team members? Think about where your misalignment may be. What's the number one area where you need help? What's the outcome that role should own? More importantly, what type of support does that best fit? Does it fall into employee? Does it fall into a VA, an OBM, a high level contractor, a bookkeeper, an accountant, a controller, COO, a CFO? I want you to think about your leadership, your system, and your team. If you're a solopreneur, what could one of these team members do to completely revamp your business and break this bottleneck?
Now we're going to talk about designing your dream week. So this is thinking about what your ideal daily schedule looks like. So it's time to bring everything that we've covered full circle. We know this is a very intensive hour. The point of this is to design a week that actually reflects the CEO version of you. So not what your work looks like now, but we've spent this session identifying what's draining your time, where you're still the glue, what systems are missing, how your leadership and your team structure need to evolve. But all of that means nothing if the day-to-day doesn't change. So in this exercise, we want to talk about how we align your time with your role as a CEO. Because if you don't intentionally design your schedule, all of that chaos will do it for you. Your week will run your schedule for you, and you will have no control over it. You will be putting out fires all week long. You'll be doing admin and any kind of leadership, strategic planning, growth that we talked about. That's all going to come second to everything. So this goes back to the Dream Week section that's back in your workbook that you've completed, where your dream life is calling. and it's talking about how you can really design this week. So this is not just jotting down a couple wishful ideas like, oh, I'd like to ride my bike more, I'd like to walk more. You really have to map out your days with your intention. So ask yourself the questions of what time do you want to start your mornings? Do you want to do certain types of work on certain days? So for me, I personally like doing creative work, so social media content type of work at the end of the week. That's just how I like to operate and how my brain works. You might be completely different, but think about that. Think about client calls. Maybe you like to batch them all on Mondays and Tuesdays. Maybe you like to batch your calls in general so that you have some weeks to do that special CEO time. But think about what feels best on certain days. Think about where you need deep focus time versus team collaboration time. And when you do that, think about who goes with each of those focus times. So on focus time, it should be just you. When you're thinking about collaboration time, again, that can be with your VA, it can be with your OBM, your fractional COO, it can be with a mastermind partner, a peer, a networking friend. Um, who is going to be there for each of those focus times and how does that work? And then think about your non-negotiable personal time that needs to be in there. That can be family time. It can be a workout, for example. It can just be time that you're unplugging and reading, spending time outside. But think about some non-negotiable time in there, just so no matter how busy you feel, you do feel like you have something to ground you. But just remember that you are the architect of your week. And if you do not design it, the demands of your business will design it for you. And so this is really your opportunity to shift from reactive scheduling. So I have to get all these things on my calendar. I have to put out these fires to scheduling intentional leadership. This is what all the best leaders do. It's what it's time for you to do. And then once your dream week is clear, you can reverse engineer your operations and delegation to help make it your reality. So as we move into the next steps, I want you to be thinking about your intentions for your ideal week.
Well, that has concluded our mastermind. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please remember to complete your workbook, take the post-session quiz, and Danielle and I, will get back to you at the personalized delegation plan to help start projecting your momentum and that you can start implementing this week. Don't forget about those blocking the 5 CEO hours and just delegate one task. Start simple, but start now. We'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn and see you at our next session. Thanks so much.